Is there an irrefutable proof for Christianity? Yes, and here it is. Christianity, or more specifically, the biblical worldview, must be true because without it, it would be impossible to know anything at all. In other words, biblical revelation is the necessary foundation for things like the laws of logic, the uniformity of nature, and morality. This argument can also be called the Transcendental argument or presuppositional apologetics. Some well-known theologians and philosophers who have taught this are Greg Bahnsen, Cornelius Van Til, and Gordon Clark. Today, you can see this method used by people like James White and Jeff Durbin. Since this video is just an introduction, check out the links in the description below to learn more. In this video, we're just going to focus on the laws of logic, which are necessary for any statement to have any meaning. For example, without the law of non-contradiction, a statement such as, "that's a cat," could mean, "that's not a cat," or even, "the unicorn is blue." Any statement could have the exact opposite meaning or an arbitrary meaning. Without the laws of logic, the result is the impossibility of knowledge and meaning. Let's contrast the biblical worldview with other worldviews, such as atheism and other religions. First, the biblical worldview. The foundational principle of the biblical worldview is that God has revealed himself and what is true through the Bible. From the Bible, we learn that God is a logical being. The laws of logic exist because they're a reflection of how God thinks. And from the Bible, we learn that God created humans with the ability to also think, according to the laws of logic. Next, atheism. The foundational principle of the atheistic worldview is that truth claims should be evaluated solely by reason, logic, or empiricism, that is, sense experience. God and the supernatural are not allowed to be the explanation for anything. Now, here's the question that atheists simply cannot answer. Where do the laws of logic come from? All atheistic attempts to answer this question have ultimately failed. It's impossible to justify the existence of immaterial, universal laws of logic in a purely materialistic, naturalistic universe. Since atheism cannot justify the existence of the laws of logic, the only way atheism can escape from the impossibility of knowledge is to implicitly assume, or steal from, the biblical worldview, which can justify the existence of the laws of logic. Atheists have lots of objections against all of this, such as, atheism is not a worldview. The biblical worldview is circular. All people, including both atheists and Christians, need to assume from the very beginning a set of self-evident or properly basic beliefs. It's irrational to use a magical concept like God as an explanation. We'll look into dealing with these objections in future videos, but for now, we'll just say that Christian presuppositionalists have legitimate answers to all of these objections. Finally, what about other religions, such as Judaism, Islam, and Buddhism? For now, let's just point out two key principles. First, a religion without a logical and all-powerful God, such as Buddhism, ends up with the same problem as atheism. It cannot justify the existence of the laws of logic, which means it also results in the impossibility of knowledge. Second, the problem with other theistic worldviews, such as modern-day Judaism and Islam, is that non-Christian theistic worldviews all contain internal inconsistencies that cause these worldviews to collapse, and likewise result in the impossibility of knowledge. In contrast, we argue that the biblical worldview is internally consistent. To summarize, the only way to escape from the impossibility of knowledge and meaning is to assume, whether explicitly or implicitly, a worldview that makes knowledge and meaning possible. We argue that the only worldview that can do this is the biblical worldview. What's the point of all of this? The point is that the Bible is certainly true, which means you stand guilty of sin before an infinitely holy and righteous God. If you repent of your sin and turn to faith in Jesus, you will be forgiven of your sin and experience eternal joy and life with God, your Father and Creator.